I was involved as director of the Better Living Centres in Cape Town and Johannesburg and conducted scores of 5-day plan smoking withdrawal courses. I soon realized that we were only touching the very fringes of smoking control. It was then that I attended a conference in London on international smoking control and came back to South Africa and realized that what was needed in this country was an organization focusing on smoking control specifically. Previous to this, the Cancer Association and the Heart Foundation had smoking, anti-smoking, as part of their overall projects. But I realized that the problem was so great that we needed a separate organization to work on this matter. So I came back from London and founded the National Council on Smoking and Health in 1976 with Professor Harry Seftel as the first chairman. We then wrote up a constitution for the National Council, and a friend of mine who had been mayor of Johannesburg and was an attorney, Alf Widman, wrote up the constitution for the council. The council then realized that we had to, in order to get a program of prevention going, and prevention of course is better than cure, we had to start a groundswell of popular opinion in South Africa to support this movement. So we got support from the republics of Lesotho, Swaziland, Lesotho, the Ciskei, and this required, of course, a lot of work and personal contact with leaders in these republics in order to get them supporting the idea of smoking control. It was then that we had a request from the Republic of Botswana to write up a first draft of smoking legislation for the Botswana government. I then contacted a friend of mine in the Faculty of Law of the Witwatersrand University and asked whether their department wouldn't undertake writing the first legislation in South Africa on smoking control. They agreed to do so. This was submitted to the Parliament of Botswana, and they adopted the bill, which then became law in Botswana. We needed to expose the contents of tobacco smoke. So we wrote to the tobacco companies and asked them whether they would supply us with the details as to the content of nicotine and tar in South African cigarettes. They refused to give us this information, and they said it was classified. So we then decided that we have to go ahead and get this information independently. We contacted the Disease Control Center in Atlanta, America, who had equipment to analyze cigarette content. And they said they would do this for us, and they would do it free of charge. So they requested 200 samples of every one of the different tobacco brands. We gave this to them, and within 6 months they informed us that they were ready, but that the contents were so revolutionary that it would affect the economy of South Africa. They said, "We're not sending this to you by courier, you'll have to come and fetch it personally." So I flew to Atlanta and collected this information, which contained startling facts with regard to the nicotine and tar content, which was very much higher than international standards then known. And so during Health Week of 1976, we announced to the South African public the content of cigarettes, nicotine and tar. Well, the tobacco companies were shocked, because it revealed for the first time the high content of nicotine and tar in the cigarettes that they were manufacturing and selling to the public. It was soon after that that the Minister of Health, Dr. Skalk van der Merwe, during his budget debate, announced to Parliament that they were going to work on measures to control smoking. And that started the ball rolling. It was shortly after that that we were informed that the tobacco growers in South Africa would like us to come and address them, which we did. And we informed them that in future they'd have to concentrate on tobacco with a very light nicotine content. And Dr. van der Merwe, in his speech, advised the public to switch from heavy content nicotine and tobacco cigarettes to the lighter cigarette. I subsequently had attended 6 different international conferences on smoking and health in Tokyo, in Stockholm, Winnipeg, etc. And then persuaded the Ciskei government, and I knew the Minister of Health quite well by this time, to organize the first international conference on smoking and health in South Africa, which was subsequently held. And we had speakers from all over the world addressing this conference. Shortly after that, the Swaziland government said, "We want to conduct an international conference here." And their Minister of Health organized the conference under our direction and our consultation in Swaziland. So by this time, not only did the republics in South Africa appreciate the dangers of smoking, but by this time it became known as a result of research that second-hand tobacco, smoke, that is smoke exhaled by the smoker, was just as dangerous as the smoke to the smoker as smoking itself. And so that then set in motion an effort by Parliament to introduce national measures. And the first measure was instituted in 1994, called the Tobacco Products Control Act. In the following 18 years, 10 different bills were passed by Parliament controlling smoking in South Africa. So that really was the beginning of smoking legislation in South Africa as we have it today. It was shortly after the announcement of tobacco cigarette content that we persuaded South African Airways to ban smoking on their internal flights. After 7 years of badgering, they finally agreed to do so. And so smoking was banned by South Africa on internal flights. This was all part of the work that was done by the Council between the years of 1976, when the Council was formed, up until the present time. The present director, Dr. Saluji, is doing a wonderful work, and the Council is moving ahead from strength to strength. I want to say at this stage that the reason or the motivation for doing what we felt we had to do was really our concern for the health of the people of South Africa. The Lord said we must obey Him first and keep His commandments. And then He said, equally so, I command you to love your fellow men. And so it was through the motive of wanting to do something for the health of South Africa that we felt impelled to engage in this work. Thank you.